What's up, guys? It is Sam here, and today I have an awesome video for you. We have the Facebook rankings of the Democratic candidates that are running for president. So we stack rank them on some social metrics to see who's actually number one on Facebook and who is number 11. So with that being said, if this is your first time here, what's good? My name is Sam, and for those of you who are returning, it's good to freaking see you. All right, let's get started. So, what I did is I pulled data from Social Blade. Social Blade is a social tracker of individual portfolio profiles on different social media platforms. So you can see there's a bunch over here on the side. And I pulled up Andrew Yang here. So this is the total number of people that are talking about him. So this would be like mentions, comments. I think there's about 4 different factors that Facebook uses for the talking about feature that they report on pages. So if you go to a page, it'll have like this number here, talking about, right? And there's like 3 or 4 different things that Facebook uses to include there. The number of mentions, the comments, something else too. I know there's something else I'm missing. Anyways, so what we do is we have 4 different factors. The first one is the total number of people talking about them. Because if somebody else is talking about them, then that means it's going to get in front of their audience as well. So we take the total number of people talking about them. We take the total number of likes over the last 30 days because people could talk about them, but they could also be talking about them in positive light or negative light. Either way, whether it's positive or negative, it's good. If it's negative, it's still good. Because if you have negative attention and you get in front of another million people, there's going to be 10%, 50%, 3% of those people who are going to be like, oh, hey, I actually like this guy, even though it's negative attention that brought on that awareness. So we take the total number of likes over the last 30 days for the Facebook page for Andrew Yang. And then we take the growth rate over the last 2 weeks in the total number of likes and the growth rate in the talking about, right? So we take a look at that number right there relative to this one to see what the growth rate is, and the same thing over a 2-week period for the total likes on the page. And I did this for each one of the candidates in each one of those 4 categories, 1 through 11, and I put them all together. And the top 5 candidates are Bernie Sanders, Andrew Yang, Michael Bloomberg, which was a big surprise to have him coming in 3rd on Facebook ranking. But we're going to talk about the volatility of this ranking in a minute. Pete Buttigieg is number 4. Joe Biden is number 5. So kind of interesting that's the top 5 on Facebook. But let's dive in a little bit more into the numbers here. So we're just going to start here at the macro before we dive into the data over here. So we've been doing this ranking for 3 months now. Today is 12/30. So I input the data and started the research 3 days ago. And if we take a look from mid-November, so the past month and a half, we see that Pete has been losing ground relatively quickly over the last 45 days. Andrew Yang had a big uptick. He went from 6th. He was sitting at 6th, right? He was losing ground. He was at 1st, then 4th, then 6th. Sat at 6th at the beginning of the month of December, and then jumped up 4 spots. Amy, we're just going to skip Amy. Bernie Sanders also came in at 8th, and he's been gaining momentum on Facebook. That's interesting. Whatever he's doing on Facebook is working. He's got a lot of awareness from the name recognition that he's built up over the years. And that's clearly helpful. When we're just going to touch on this really quickly, the number of people talking about him, 700,000. The next closest person is Elizabeth Warren. Half as many people. That's tremendous. That's crazy. That's amazing. Joe Biden is, and we're going to get into the structure of the layout that we used for these numbers and the scoring in a second. Joe Biden has been increasing his awareness on Facebook, and it looks like some of these players weren't even trying several months ago. So it is interesting to see them. They're executing well, right? They looks like they weren't trying, they started trying, and they're performing well. So they're doing a good job in their execution. Let's take a look here. Elizabeth Warren similar to Pete, which, so I've seen this in other data, right? We do a YouTube, national YouTube rankings based upon the search volume and a national Google ranking based upon the search volume. So when I look at those, if you want to check them out, go back to the channel. But Pete and Elizabeth both, if I remember correctly, both seem to be losing a little bit of steam. We also do state rankings. Pete's doing well in Iowa, but Elizabeth and him have just been kind of slowly losing a little bit of air in their sales. So it is kind of interesting that we see that on Facebook as well, because we see that on the other indicators we're looking at. So to see it here is also confirmatory. Tulsi Gabbard is interesting in the sense that I think that her message is powerful for a lot of people, but I just don't think she has the support to get her message out to enough people. Like where Andrew Yang has a tremendous amount of support, and I know Tulsi does too, but the people on YouTube who are making videos about Andrew Yang versus the people on YouTube who are making videos about Tulsi Gabbard is like 0 to like a shitload, right? So if you have other people talking about you who are going to be building their own audience and be able to gain more awareness for you, we actually just did a video on affiliate marketing and how Andrew Yang is using that, and I don't see the level of sophistication from any of the other candidates on like their social media strategy. So Tulsi, I think, has a powerful message, and the distribution of that message to get it out to the world, to have the most eyeballs see her and her message, is not doing well. She went from 2nd to 9th. We're going to talk about the volatility of these rankings a little bit. Tom Steyer came in at 7th. Interestingly, Bloomberg came in at number 3. So he just announced his running in early December, I think it was. So that's interesting that Bloomberg came in at number 3. But let's talk about the factors that we have here. So we've got 4 factors, and then we take an average of these 4 factors to come up with a score that we rank them on, right? So the 2 factors that we use represent 80% of the score. That's the number of people talking about them and the total number of likes on their page over the last 30 days. Those 2 represent 80% of the score, or their placing here. Where the other 2 are growth rates. Growth rates are going to represent 10% each. So they're going to represent 20% total, where each one of these factors is 40%, and I could add it up to 80. And the reason we do that is because, like, look at Bernie, right? For example, he's number 1 in terms of people talking about him. There are over 700,000 people talking about him. But if you look at his growth rate in terms of over the last 2 weeks, how many people are talking about them, whether that's increasing or decreasing the number of people talking about him. And he had a 0.39% increase in the total number of people that were talking about him. But look at Amy Klobuchar, right above him, right here. She's got an 80% growth rate almost, but she's only at 50,000 people talking about her. 14 times less than Bernie. So you can see that the absolute number is super fucking important. So is the growth rate, but the growth rate's just not as important. Like, if Amy could sustain an 80% growth rate for, the next several weeks or months, and actually gain some relevance, then we can start having a different conversation potentially. But the magnitude and the size difference between the audiences that these candidates have, I think, from a prudent standpoint, from like trying to understand the most accurate representation of like what the American public is interested in, I think using growth rate at a lower percentage of the total factor scoring it just makes sense. Same thing goes with the total number of people who have liked their Facebook page over the last 30 days, where we see Andrew Yang had 16,000, almost 17,000 people like his page, number 1 out of all the candidates who liked his page. Well, he coincidentally also had the largest growth rate in that factor as well, and he had the second or third largest from this one over here. Let's see, Tom Steyer, or let's take a look at Bloomberg. So Bloomberg's got 100,000 people talking about him. So there's only like 5 candidates, right? 1, 2, 3. There's about 5 candidates who have over 100,000 people talking about them. Interestingly, Michael Bloomberg does. I don't know. He was a mayor somewhere, I believe, or something like that. And he had a lot of name recognition built up, apparently, because once he started running, he jumped up and started to gain some of that conversation. I'm curious to see if Bloomberg continues to gain, because I think he might be, from a perception standpoint, perceived to be in the same, not from like, and I don't pay attention to what they say, so from just an appearance standpoint, right? Something like a better alternative to Biden. So and I have no idea what their policies are, what they stand for. I have no fucking idea. Like, I don't pay attention to what any of them say. But if that is the case, because I think there's also a lot of surface dwellers in terms of just reading headlines who don't actually pay attention to what's going on. So if they're just looking at the surface and they're judging a book by its cover, and they see Bloomberg versus Joe Biden or potentially Bernie Sanders, I think that could potentially, if he continues to gain, if Michael Bloomberg continues to gain, that could pull support from Joe. I could see that happening pretty easily. Pulling it from Bernie's just dwarfing from a size standpoint, so it could, but it would be less impactful for Bernie if some of like the fringe supporters for Bernie decided to switch to Bloomberg. But I see that happening probably to a greater extent with Joe Biden or Elizabeth Warren's, because we have seen a drop with Elizabeth Warren in terms of her support, even though on Facebook she's still she's number 6, so she's 3 spots behind Bloomberg, but she has a lot more people talking about her, but he had a lot more people who liked his page. So I could see him pulling a little bit of the support from Bernie. I'm sorry, a little bit from Bernie, a little bit from Elizabeth, but probably the majority from Joe, and potentially pulling in new people who just were like, hey, I don't fucking like politics, but because Mike Bloomberg's my boy, I'm going to go pay attention to politics, right? That could happen. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are down below in the comment section. If you use the hashtag Stolt, we can actually get into the comment section and talk about this. So this is actually from Edith. First of all, Edith, happy holidays, and thank you so much for the comment. You are getting well known in the Yang Gang because they learn a lot of things from your videos. Well, I appreciate the kind words. Truth is, supporters, and this is in reference to the Yang Gang using affiliate marketing, Andrew Yang using affiliate marketing with like Paget, Kai, and like Nerds for Yang. So those are 3 other YouTube channels who talk about Andrew Yang, and Andrew Yang's using their awareness as they continue to grow. They are going to continue to support him, and through the affiliate links, drive traffic to his website. And if you look at his website ranking, which we also do on this channel if you want to go check it out, but the website ranking has Andrew Yang number 1. And he's the only candidate that I see that is actually doing affiliate marketing. So they're not like getting a portion of the proceeds, but what they're doing is getting access. So it's the same thing, just a little bit different shift, because there's certain rules with the FEC, which is like the federal something to do with raising money. So that's interesting how they're playing that out, and I see that just being tremendously helpful for them. Well, truth be told, the supporters of other candidates are learning a lot too. Well, thank you. Hopefully, I do try to bring value. I have mixed feelings because you're giving away our secrets. Great analysis. Thank you. Honestly, Edith, I don't think anybody else is actually fucking paying attention. If you look at the level of sophistication from the digital storytelling age of 2019 going into 2020, and you realize that like the internet is the thing you need to win, not like the physical world. Like getting your distribution out online is more than 50% of it, in my opinion, because you just need more people to hear your message, and I can get my message out to way more people online than you could if you're just campaigning in the real world. Guarantee it. Like in a fucking second. Like, and if you spend $50 a day on gas, I'll spend $50 a day on ads, and I'll destroy you in terms of getting my message out to more people. Just it's not even. I mean, if you spend $50 on gas and then go buy food out and like other things, I'll just completely, utterly fucking destroy you when it comes to getting my message out. Because when you have these social media platforms that allow people to distribute their message and tell their story, when you don't have to play telephone, right? In the sense that the mainstream media, you hear like the news, right? Or some piece of information, then it goes through like 3 iterations before it comes to television or radio, and it will have like some type of agenda behind it. The media doesn't have the North Star of their organization being the truth and accuracy of what they're reporting. They just don't. They just don't give a shit about that. Like, they want to make money and do other things, and like everybody has their own self-interest. I get it. But that's why we actually do these rankings. Great analysis. Thank you. What are you doing is a huge help for the campaign, that you have not expressed any preference. I sincerely hope you register for Yang. If you have any other candidate in mind, I still hope you vote as well. Every vote strengthens the democratic process. I agree. I think that 2020 is going to be a ridiculous year from a voting standpoint and a turnout standpoint. This is the first year where we have had this level of dissemination of opinions and messaging that has ever taken place in the history of the world. But when you have this level of like analysis coming from every single different way, people's opinions, of whether it's a blog or YouTube or Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, everybody is able to get this message out to more people, which will have some percentage of those people actually show up to the polls. Caucuses and whatnot, primaries is what I meant to say. And for the 2020, according to Pew Research, the research they have indicates that the 2020 elections is going to be a killer year for turnout for Gen Z, Millennials, and Gen X, which are the demo, graphically speaking, from like 18 to 53 in terms of years of age. So 18-year-olds up to 53-year-olds are going to represent like 65% of the total voted population, according to Pew Research in 2020. Where do those people spend their time? On the internet. More so than the people 54 and older, at least, on average. So the next is, thank you so much, Edith. I really appreciate the comment. Hope you have an awesome New Year's. Cloudy Commentary. What's good, Cloudy Commentary? I like the name of your channel there. Keep it up. You're really into more advanced look into modern politics through the lens of data. Yes, I really honestly don't pay attention closely to like what any of them say, the candidates that is. But I do appreciate a lot of the way I do pick up little bits and pieces of how Andrew Yang thinks about things, and I do appreciate some of the little bits and pieces that I've seen from Tulsi. Both of them seem very, very genuine and very, very authentic to me, and I'm not following anybody really closely, but they both seem a little bit more genuine and authentic than a lot of the other field. But remember, I haven't listened to a lot of people. There's just not a big interest for me. I just don't give a shit about politics. But the data and understanding what America thinks, that's interesting to me. So Cloudy Commentary, it also leaves a comment. Thank you so much for the 2 comments. I really appreciate this. I like the story being told through the data and trends. It's extremely refreshing. Yang was born from the internet, and analyzing the internet will yield a truer story. I agree 100%, Cloudy. 100%. This is why his message has spread globally, while legacy media is just now being, oh, you gave me an awesome idea, Cloudy, just now being to wake up to the Yang smelling salts. Okay, so I actually think I'm going to do a video on a global basis. Who has more global recognition? Because that's a very interesting idea. I like that idea. Thank you so much for that. I'm going to write that down on my list of videos to make as soon as I finish filming this, because we could take a look to see who has the most global awareness around their name on Google and on YouTube to see. I'd like to know what your thoughts are down below in the comment section. Don't forget to subscribe or press that bell notification so you get to see new new videos when they are published. As well, if you want to support the channel, like I'm doing this full time now, so don't really have an income. If you want to support the channel or you want to buy shit from Amazon for the holidays or anything like that, it doesn't cost you anything. But if you use my link, at some point I'll have a Patreon down there and my PayPal. But at the current moment, I don't. So I appreciate you guys, and I will talk to you soon.